Okay, so right now I'm going to do chop and drop. And the reason why you want to do chop and drop, it's a little moisture barrier, plus the leaves itself, when you put it around the base, they're going to go ahead and decompose and go into the ground. And okay, so I'm walking around because I'm looking for a spot to see where I could plant some of those pots. However, with that said, the sun's already out. I'm sweating, it's hot, so I may not even get to that today. So I'm going to walk around, do a little tour in this video as bonus. Let's go ahead and see. Now, I just went ahead and planted these blue javas just the other day, about a week and a half ago. I got a video on it. You have to look at the video to see the date, to see how I planted them. But just to go ahead and show you how good it loves this spot, and it loves the compost that I planted in it. Look at this. It's already shooting out a pup right here. And this was just transplanted. So here's another blue java coming out right now. Gotta love that. Meanwhile, I have mulch on my other one. So today I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this mulch away from the base. So if there is any other ones coming out, they'll have a little bit of easier time. I'm going to do that to all the other ones going down right over here. And actually, I'm going to walk around and see how all the other ones look. But I think that's what I'll do this morning. Meanwhile, I have some fruit and bananas over here. Day one, blossoms came out, turned into some bananas. They fruited. Day two, a couple more hands came out, and day three, a couple more hands came out, and it looks like more is coming out now. So let's take a look. Well, there's definitely pollinators around them, and it looks like those are going to turn into bananas, maybe. And it looks like those are turning into bananas right there. Now these are Orinoco. So you can see how many hands are there right now. And it's still got a big blossom, so I'm curious to see how many more hands will come out. Now here's a pup. This is a pup of the parent plant, and this one fruited first. These are Orinoco. Anyway, I think that's amazing. My large Orinoco over here put out a pup, and the pup is smaller than me, and that put out and fruited before the parent plant did. So, but the parent plant just went ahead and fruited, and these are how nice and plump they're going to be here shortly. And then over here, I still got my praying hands. They're getting a little bigger, a little plumper, and still got male blossoms coming out. The pollinators are still around, so I'm leaving them so the pollinators stay around. And that's what the praying hands look like. Now down on the bottom, I got a nice pup over here that's going to replace this one after it fruits. And for this one fruiting, I have a nice pup right there that's going to replace that. And I have a new pup coming in right there that's going to replace that. So it's always important that when you have a banana plant and it starts fruiting, hopefully you have another pup that's going to replace that plant after it fruits. And then the same thing with the larger one over here. It's always good to have another pup coming in that's going to be a replacement. And the same thing over here. That's going to be replacement, so I'm not going to separate them because I want those out of replacement. Because it's still got a big corm down there, and that just means all these pups are going to not take a long time to grow. They're going to be thicker, and they'll grow taller a lot quicker than if you had to transplant or plant a new one. So let's go over here and take a look at some of these. Okay, so on these here, I just trimmed these up the other day. It's in one of my videos. And I went ahead and cut some pups off too. It's in one of my videos. But if I come right over here, I trimmed it up. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I trimmed it up, there was only 4, but now there's 5. It's time to trim another one off of that. When you have 5 leaves coming down, you trim one off and leave 4. It sprouts up another one faster. The base will get thicker and the plant will grow taller faster. And as soon as you go through a number of those leaves that come off, the plant knows it's time to fruit, so it'll fruit sooner. Now this one over here I trimmed up. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 in that. So when I trimmed it, I must have left 3. And this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it already shot out another one, and it's time to go ahead and trim that. Then over here I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could go ahead and trim one of these. Okay, ooh, that sun is bright, wow. And over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could trim one of these off, which I'll do in a little bit. And then right over here on the smaller one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So time to trim one of those. And on this one, I probably left 3, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to leave that. But look what happens on the bottom. Okay, on the bottoms, I got a lot of pups coming out. This one does not have a pup yet, but I'm expecting some. Okay, so this one over here, it's got a really nice pup that's just about almost time to come out. Plus it's got more going around. That's a lot of pups. And this one here has a nice one that I want to go ahead and take out right here. But I want that one there to get a little bigger before I take that one out. And then over here, I took one out of here before. These got a little bit more to go, but I believe this one here is going to be the next one. And same thing over here. I want them to get a little taller, but the pups are looking really good right now, and they're getting thicker. And the same thing over here. This one looks like one that I'll take next. Okay, so the thing is with banana plants, if you go ahead and you plant them the right way, fertilize them the right way, and they got plenty of water because they're on the pond over here, so I don't water them. They're getting it right from there, but I do fertilize with compost tea. And so by trimming them, they grow taller, the bases get wider, and they're producing lots of pups. Now, some people don't want a lot of bananas, so they cut off the pups, and some people just let them go wild and grow in a whole lot of pups turned into banana plants side by side. But I feel that that hurts a little bit on the production because it's sucking the nutrients right out of the parent plant. But what I like to do is I go ahead and I separate them. You can look at some of my videos on separating them, and I go ahead and repot them. And then when they get large enough, I could go ahead and plant them, or I could go ahead and sell them. But I don't cut them and I don't waste them. I just multiply them, and that's what I'm doing over here. Okay, let's go over here to some of the other banana plants that I just planted this week. Okay, so this here is my flagpole. It's about 40 something feet tall. And over here on the outside, I'm going all the way around it right here, 85 foot. They're 9 feet apart. All the way around is going to be all banana plants. Now, you can see the ones that I just planted. I planted 5 of them over here. And then I went ahead and put mulch over them. So these here could start growing. And when I get around to it, I'm going to plant 5 more for a total of 10. But for this morning, I'm going to go ahead and pull some of the mulch away from the base, so the pups that start coming out won't have to pull or push through all that mulch. So with that said, let me get going. Okay, so these are my blue javas that I just planted. Got that in the video. So I'm pulling some of this mulch away from the plant, and I'm going to level it out a little bit. I'm going to do the same to all of them. So if there's any new pups, like this one here, it'll push up quicker. Now this one here has some around, and it just pushed right on out. So I'm going to pay attention to that. Plus I want to go ahead and move some chips around. Just like that, I'm going to go ahead Okay, so after I move that around, I'm going to spread all this all the way down and make sure all this area and in between, I'm going to pull this in between all the way down to the grass line so some new grass doesn't grow up. I'll keep the grass as a buffer down that way. So before I start spreading that, let me go ahead and move the mulch away from all my other ones. Couple red ants around getting me. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go cut some Mexican sunflower and chop a drop all the way around that before I go ahead and level that on out. Okay, so I got some hand clippers and I got some bigger clippers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and thin out some of my leafy uppers so I can strip the leaves off and do some chop and drop. Okay, so by taking the uppers like this, it's bushier. That's going to go ahead and let the bottoms go ahead and fill out a little bit. And I'm still leaving some to grow taller, so it'll be bushy down here and some taller up here. And to chop them, drop them, you just kind of take off the leaves like that, or just grab the whole thing and just pull it down like that. And you'll notice I have some smaller ones down on the bottom all along here. All I did was clip it and stick it in the ground and they're growing. Okay, so normally when I trim to do chop and drop, I get the leafy stuff off. When I want to plant them and utilize the stalks or the stems or the trunks on them, I cut off the bottom to get the thick base, which could go in the ground and I'll start a new plant. And also when I do compost tea, I want the leafy stuff, and I put this in the barrel. There's videos on that. But for today, I'm just removing the front side going down because I still want this big because it's giving me privacy back there. And that's why I'm growing these in the front of it, and I'm growing some in the back of it so I could trim one whole row down. I got the other row and the other row, and I just progress like that. Okay, you see I got more. Let me just state, when I'm going around and I'm chopping and dropping these, I've got a pond over here and I got some hiding places for moccasins and other snakes. So I always wear boots in the yard, so if I get struck on the boot. But I do look down wherever I walk to see if there's a moccasin. Okay, so I got enough right here to start doing some chop and drop on the video. I got some taller plants over there I want to trim out, and want to trim these up a little bit more. So let me just go ahead and take these over to the banana plant and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I pulled my gorilla cart up over here. I keep all my tools in there and whatever I got to lug around the yard. This is a great cart. It turns on the dime and it carries a lot of weight, plus it's a dump. I highly recommend one of these for anybody that's got a garden that has to pull stuff around. Saves a lot of back-breaking work. So right here's my blue javas. I got a video on me planted them. I explained what they look like with the ridges around, with the color, and you see me plant them. So I just planted these the other day. So right now I'm going to do chop and drop. And the reason why you want to do chop and drop, it's a little moisture barrier, plus the leaves itself, when you put it around the base, they're going to go ahead and decompose and go into the ground and feed your plant. So it's either have mulch or chop and drop. I got mulch all over, but I only put the chop and drop right around this little area, and that's where I fertilize it at with the compost tea, because I don't want to put it all into the chips, because I got about a foot of chips and higher. I put it right on to where it goes right down to the roots right away. So all I do is I take this like that and I put it down there. I don't put these down there. Depending on how much Mexican sunflower you have will determine how much you put around your plants. Me, I'm going to put a lot on there because it bakes down, and any new growth that comes in, any new pups, they're just going to push right through that. What you'll start seeing is you'll see a little lump come up like that, and then it makes its way through when it comes out. Once again, you can just strip these down like that. just like that. Or you could do them like this, don't matter. Now I save all the small stems and the biggest stems. I put them in a pile. Once they turn brown, I put them through my chipper and it turns into compost, and then I put them around the plants. I just don't like the I don't like the stems or the stalks to be all around. It's harder for the pups to push through them, and they take longer to decompose. Okay, so you seen what I did. You see the pile right down here. I'm going to make this pile bigger. I'm going to come up to about here. I got plenty of it. And I'm going to go ahead and do all the others down there. And then I'll show you what it all looks like when I'm done. Okay, so I went ahead and went on the back side and trimmed up a bunch of these plants. And I went ahead and threw them over the fence. And I'm piling them up. And this is what I do with the old stalks. I just go ahead and pile them like that. And then when they dry out, I put them through the chipper, and that creates compost chips to go on top. Okay, so you can see I trimmed them up. I left a couple tall ones, but basically I cut them down. Now they'll get bushier. I didn't cut them down to the ground this time because I need some of the thicker trunks to get thicker, because I transplant them, and when they grow roots I sell them. If you guys want any Mexican sunflower, contact me below and I'll help you out. So anyway, let me get back and go ahead and do some more dropping over there, because I already chopped. Okay, so I finished chopping and dropping over here, and as you can see, I got a bunch of stems over here that I'm going to pile up and let them dry out. But I also got a really nice one over here with roots coming out, so I'm just going to go ahead and plant that since it's already starting. But with that said, let's go ahead and take a little tour. You can kind of see what I did over here. Let me turn the camera around. Okay, so you can see I chopped and dropped that pretty high on that one. Now this is the one with the pup. See the pup right there? So I chopped and dropped it all the way around. I put some under the leaf over here, and I just made sure I didn't cover that up because I want it to grow now. But I still fully chopped and dropped it all the way around. And as you can see, I piled them up nicely. I have plenty of Mexican sunflower, so I could do that. On this one, it's a little smaller, so I put it under the leaves and made sure I didn't cover the leaf. And the same thing right there. Okay, so there you go. Not only are they planted in good compost, And not only did I went ahead and fertilize them when I planted them with liquid compost made out of Mexican sunflower and Comfrey Bakken 14, but I go ahead and I make sure that I chop and drop them all, since I got a lot growing over here. And that's going to give them plenty of moisture retention that don't evaporate, and that's going to go ahead and let the nutrients wash down in there. And before long, all my blue javas, I'm going to be putting off a lot of pups, and I'm going to have multiple blue javas for sale. So with that said, let me get back to work over here. Okay, so I finished the blue javas back there. I chopped and dropped them, then I went ahead and remulched the whole area and raked it out. Now I'm in the front here, and on my praying hands, I'm going to go ahead and take away some of that mulch right there around the base, and I'm going to chop and drop it. Back at you. Okay, so as you can see around the base of all the banana plants, I pulled the mulch away and I exposed the top of the topsoil, and I'm going to go ahead and chop and drop in each one of those now. Back at you. Okay, I went ahead and finished chopping and dropping over here on my front row of praying hands. I left the stalks down on the ground over here till they dry out, and I'll mulch them up. But let's check out what I did today before we end the video. Okay, so I chopped and dropped around the base of my newly planted pups, which are praying hands. I left some of the stalks on the ground. I'm going to let them dry out, and once they dry out, I'm going to go ahead and chip them. Okay, so I came back over here and I chopped up more of them because I needed more. I try not to take too much off, but each time I come through and need more, I come through, and this is what the use is for. I'm growing them so I could chop them. So instead of chopping these all the way down to the ground, I left them like that, and in about 2 or 3 weeks time, they're going to have all new growth coming out of the top, which I could use for some compost tea or more chop and drop. So let's get on with it. Okay, so back over here, you can see that I went ahead and chopped and dropped. That's all my blue java. And then I came through and I remulched in between, and I mulched the whole area. You can see it going around like this around the pond over here. I'm leaving grass, but I'm also mulching these up really good with chips. All these chips are going to turn into a compost eventually, and that's all going to be my soil level eventually. So let's get on with it. Okay, so we started. I went ahead and repotted a few of these, and I'm leaving them on my pallet over here because I still have to plant them. So there's 6 banana pups over here that need planting, and that's for another video. The sun is baking on me right now, and it is just too hot to be digging by hand. So I'll get back out here and do these another time. So with that said, back at you.